Thursday. Welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. Coming to you on a Thursday. I'm, of course, your host, David On Point. Right there is my co-host, Mr. TJ Hopkins. And on today's show, we're going to be giving out our final predictions for the 2022-23 NFL awards. That means Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, and then MVP, and then Coach of the Year, and then we're going to be breaking down our playoff bracket, how things are going to shake out, and who's going to be raising that Vince Lombardi trophy. But yeah, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast, please. Also, if you happen to miss us live, I will share the link to the place where you can watch us on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to us on Spotify. You can listen to us on Amazon Music, and we're also on iHeartRadio now. We are legit, and I will share that link to that show right now. So if you missed us live for any reason, you can always rewatch our podcast. We are on all of those streaming devices: Spotify, Apple Music, iHeart, and Apple Podcasts. God damn, that's a lot. But yeah, please like, share, and subscribe. Welcome into the show. TJ, welcome into the show. Happy Thursday, my friend. How are you? And what is good in, what's the word?
I'm just watching Brooklyn and Boston go to battle. This is Brooklyn's first game without KD. Second game without KD?
Maybe.
Lost track. But they're up 3 right now.
And if you want our opinion on that Kevin Durant situation, we broke that down in depth yesterday during the crossover. So go and check out that show just in case you did miss that content.
Right.
But yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about NFL awards prediction. We're going to be giving out the awards first, and then we'll get into the bracket part of the show. Let's first start with the most important award, probably in the National Football League. That's Most Valuable Player of the Year. TJ, who do you have being the Most Valuable Player of the Year for you on your end?
It's probably going to be Pat Mahomes. I forgot who I had when the season, before the season kicked off, we did our preseason stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
we also did a midterm too. I don't know.
No. I think it was universal. I think we all picked Josh Allen to be the preseason. I know. I think that's who I picked.
I had Josh Allen too. I may have picked the dark horse just to be different, but
right. And then Jalen Hurts comes along and he has the season that he had, but he missed he missed the last 3 games, and Pat Mahomes didn't, and that's pretty much what it comes down to. Jalen Hurts pretty much fell into the same thing that happened to Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was the MVP for the bulk of that Super Bowl season. Then he tears his ACL and he misses the last 3 games, and all of a sudden it's well, we can't give the MVP to an injured player, and they gave it to Tom Brady. So Pat Mahomes was great, but I had a feeling if Jalen Hurts doesn't miss those 3 games, he probably gets the MVP. Jalen Hurts he sputtered at the end. He had a bad game against the Bears. He threw 2 picks or 3 picks, whatever. But he threw 2 picks. He didn't throw any touchdowns, but he ran for 3.
Yeah. He had a rough game against the Chicago Bears and got injured. Didn't play again until the last game of the season. Wasn't particularly sharp in that game either. And yeah, I think you shouldn't lose the MVP because you got injured. But I think on the other side of this, because Patrick Mahomes is my MVP choice as well. But right. I think Patrick Mahomes has earned this. He's been really good this season. Good. You look at his numbers. I just pulled them up. He's been really good this season. I mean, he's got 5,250 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 12 picks. I mean, people used to go off at 5,000 yards. 5,000 yards used to be a plateau. Now it's just oh, whatever. I got 5,000 yards. It's all right.
No, 4,000 yards used to be.
Yeah, true.
Over.
Now quarterbacks are throwing for 5,000 yards it's nobody's business. All right, for sure.
And he broke. I think he broke that one Peyton Manning passing record, and it's everybody's hold on. Caveat: he had an extra game to do it, which does kind of dampen it a little, and I'm putting a little in quotation marks. But I think we answered the universal question, how would he thrive without Tyreek Hill? And it's it's business as usual.
Yeah, right? It doesn't matter what his weapons are; he's gonna be good no matter what. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Yeah.
And it's like somebody I forgot who was I listening to yesterday. Undisputed, and Shannon Sharp pointed out that on the AFC side, he's the oldest quarterback in the playoffs on the AFC side, and Pat Mahomes is only 27.
Well, there's for sure been a changing of the guard in the AFC. I mean, Philip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, all of those guys are retired. Tom Brady's now in the NFC. So yeah, Josh Allen's pretty young. I think he's only in season 5 or 6 at the most.
So it's like no, he's only 27.
Teddy Bridgewater is older than him, I think.
And Teddy Bridgewater's not even playing.
Oh, I guess Skylar Thompson's going to be the starting. Yeah, I guess he would be the starting quarterback in the AFC. Whoever's going to be starting for the Baltimore Ravens, I don't know how Lamar Jackson's still probably younger than.
He's not playing. Lamar Jackson's still younger than Pat Mahomes. So
thank you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
So
my MVP choice is also Patrick Mahomes. My dark horse is Jalen Hurts. Just having the best record in the NFC, that should be worth something. But I think Patrick Mahomes has had the better season. And I almost feel like a lot of people feel that way as well. He's been dominant from start to finish with really no lulls in between or bad games at all out of Patrick Mahomes. He did have a couple of games against the Denver Broncos that they ended up winning anyways, but that he was kind of rocky in. Against the Texans, he was a little shaky in, but they won those games too. Moving on from that most valuable player, let's talk about Coach of the Year, which I think actually this may be the most difficult award to choose this season.
Yeah. So obviously, like, in most situations, this award always goes to the quarterback, the coach that, wins the most games or whatever the case may be. Like, they always choose like the quote unquote good teams. So like, Andy Reid's in contention. Nick Sirianni.
I feel like Andy Reid gets taken for granted for. Like, he never wins these kind of awards.
He does now because of his quarterback. Like, he was way more appreciated when Alex Smith and Donovan McNabb were his quarterbacks.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. Like, when you have a first ballot for Hall of Famer as your quarterback, you kind of, all those head coaches that coach for Peyton Manning, Bill Belichick. How many coaches of the years does Bill Belichick have? Probably not that many.
Not pretty exactly. Like,
you might not even have one.
Tony Dungy wasn't winning too many coach of the years with Peyton Manning at the helm, right? Like,
that's true.
All right, what's his name? Probably got one, and that was Jim Caldwell because he was a first-time head coach with the Colts.
So Bill Belichick has 3 coaches of the year, so he's won it 3 times.
So that's. But think about how long he's been the head coach of the Patriots. 3 coach of the years
in 23 years.
Over the span of 23 years,
he's won 6 Super Bowls in that season, in that time frame.
That time frame, bro. So like, yeah. So like, what's his name? It's probably, if I had to pick, it probably go to Kevin O'Connell. When you go to Minnesota and you basically go from 6-8 or whatever they were in one-score games to 11-0, 11-1, like whatever they are in one-score games.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think all of those rookie head coaches are more than deserving of being coach of the year. But for me, it's Brian Daboll. Taking a Giants team that everybody kind of counted out, even us here at the Prime, didn't think the New York Football Giants were going to be good this season. And for them to turn that around and have Daniel Jones have the season that he had, I think Brian Daboll is my coach of the year. I think he's gotten more out of that team with less around him than anybody in the NFL this season.
Yeah, well, you got that. Well, again, I'm just saying what the voters are thinking, like the people who actually vote on it. Me personally, I have no issue if Brian Daboll was to win Coach of the Year. I have no issue if Dan Campbell was to win Coach of the Year. I have no issue. I actually
think my dark horse, if I was a voter, which I'm not, breaking news, I would have Brian Daboll as number 1. My number 2 would be Doug Peterson. I think Doug Peterson, what he did with the Jacksonville Jaguars, taking them from being the first overall pick, drafting first overall to winning the division in one season, I think that's pretty damn impressive.
Right. So think about it. You got Daboll, you got Peterson, you got Pete Carroll, Dan Campbell. So that's 4 people right there.
This is why I said it before we even got to it. Like, this may be the most difficult year to pick the coach of the year. I think there are 10 guys that are worthy of being the coach of the year this year.
Mike Tomlin.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, on the lesson though, Lovie Smith, because Lovie Smith knew he was getting fired. He knew he was getting fired.
He for sure
and
did.
and he said like it
He's
was
like, the heck, your first overall pick.
like
You know, show me
oh
the door anyways.
it was a classic case of F me, no F you. Like that's exactly what that was. But like in all
100%.
no, but in all seriousness, like yeah, it's a legit four like four maybe five candidates that can legit win Coach of the Year. So like you said, Doug Peterson, Brian Daboll, Kevin O'Connell, Pete Carroll, Mike Tomlin, like, and it's probably going to go to Kevin O'Connell because he won the most games out of those listed, and he did it with and he did it with a quarterback not a lot of people have a ton of respect for whatever reason, right? Like because Kirk Cousins is not everyone's cup of tea,
True.
and which I don't understand. Like Kirk Cousins turns out good season after good season after good
I mean,
season.
he was incredible last season. I mean, if he doesn't, he would literally have been if he had been on a good team last season, he probably would have been the MVP.
And it's
So
just like it is what it is. But it's going to Kevin O'Connell. Everybody, I think Dolphins fans are trying to kick the bucket on Mike McDaniel.
he's another guy who's for sure going to be in the conversation. Brian McDaniel, he's going to be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. Like he's like Kyle Shanahan. I think Kyle Shanahan's going to get some votes. He's going to be in the conversation.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan's definitely going to get some votes.
Kyle Shanahan, the fact that how they've scrambled this season, going from Trey Lance, losing him immediately, to having Jimmy Garoppolo, go down, and then having Brock Purdy come in and be basically incredible since he's gotten there, and not miss a step along the way. Kyle Shanahan deserves to be some kind of accusation.
The reason I can't go Mike McDaniel is because they started off like 7-3,
and then they kind of slid down the end. But that's all tied to the coach, the quarterback getting injured, and the way that training staff has handled that situation. It's something we're going to address, probably not today, but somewhere down the line. Moving on from Coach of the Year, let's talk about DPOY. And my DPOY is probably going to be a lot of people's DPOY. It's Nick Bosa of the San Francisco 49ers. He's got 41 solo tackles. He's got 18.5 sacks. He's got 2 forced fumbles on the number 1 rated defense in the National Football League. Nick Bosa is going. I would almost guess that this will be borderline unanimous.
Yeah, I don't see. I mean, you already know the Cowboy faithful are gonna steal some votes for Michael Parsons.
Yeah, I just don't think he hasn't had the dominant season that many people predicted that he would have.
No, and it started
also because a lot of teams are like chipping on his outside.
Like it started, and like they counteract his aggressiveness with read plays, RPO plays, screen plays, and they burn them. Right, but yeah, he started off great. Right, he started off great, and then he just like this is a game like this is a league where you can't afford like if you're in an individual award race, you can't afford a bad week. I mean, like maybe.
I mean, he's had a legit bad month. I mean, he has.
That's what I'm saying.
Since that Texans game,
like you can barely afford a bad week. You can't. You damn sure can't afford multiple bad weeks consecutively. Like it's okay if you go, like a game with a game without a sack. Right, like if you go one game without getting a sack. But you follow it up the next game and you get 2 sacks, 2.5, or something like that, right?
Since the Giant game, where he got 2 sacks against the New York Football Giants, he had 1.5 sacks for 6 games, 1.5 sacks in 6 games. That's not going to get it done.
No, that's not going to get it done. And you got Nick Bosa over there, who's basically getting the same treatment. Let's not act like Michael Parsons is the only one getting chipped and doubled. And all that other
he might even get more. I mean, because let's not like Dallas has DeMarcus Lawrence on the other side, who's a good football player and a good edge rusher. But yeah, I think Matthew Judon. I also think dark horse Matthew Judon is going to get some votes. 15.5 sacks. I actually thought he could have been the DVOY at one point this season. The Patriots kind of fell apart as a whole, but he was extremely good this season.
Yeah, he was. But yeah, I think this is Nick Bosa. I think my preseason pick was T.J. Watt, but T.J. Watt gets hurt in the first game, and then he misses basically the next 2 months of the season. It's like, well, there's no coming back from that.
I may have picked Aaron Donald to be my DPOY when the season started, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I know for a fact I picked T.J. Watt.
Moving on from this, let's talk about Offensive Player of the Year. And who do you think is going to be the Offensive Player of the Year? I'll have to let you have the floor first.
Usually they don't get they don't give this to back-to-back quarterbacks, which I think I think that's what's gonna happen in this case, right? I think for a bulk of the season, people thought it would be Tyreek Hill or Justin Jefferson because of the gaudy numbers they were putting up at the receiver spot. But we literally just talked about how Pat Mahomes broke Peyton Manning's passing record, so he's gonna win MVP and Offensive Player of the Year off that
Oh,
alone.
that's interesting. I don't think the NFL is going to do that. I think they will
Watch
split these.
them.
I don't think the NFL is going to do that. I think they will split these two awards up. But I actually think my OPOY is actually going to be Jalen Hurts. I think if Patrick Mahomes ends up winning the MVP, I think they're going to give OPOY to Jalen Hurts. He's played well enough to deserve this award. The team is vastly different offensively when Jalen Hurts is not in the lineup. The absence of Jalen Hurts is why he deserves to be the OPOY.
You can make that argument for his MVP case too, but this is why the NFL needs a most improved type of award because
it's true. He would win it by
he would win that by a landslide. Oh my God!
I think he's my dark horse to win OPOY. If he doesn't win MVP, I think he has a real shot at winning OPOY or MVP. I think he's got a real shot at winning OPOY. Justin Jefferson's my OPOY though. Justin Jefferson has been he's a game changer on offense. I know he's had 2 games in a row that were kind of lackluster, but it doesn't take away from his entire season.
The Green Bay game and then the Bear game where it's like
that Bear game he wasn't really playing for much, All
right, their seeding was cemented. They're not changed. Like that win didn't move them up in seeding. It didn't change anything. The division was already clinched. So I'm not holding that against him, right? Like that, and they shouldn't hold that against him. The guy played one half and caught one pass, and it's like, oh, we don't need you to play.
The dude had 128 catches and 1,800 yards this season. That's absurd production. That's you win OPOY basically any other season. But I honestly think Jalen Hurts has a little shot at this. Like his production on offense, when he's not there, it's noticeable.
Yeah, his dual threat. What's his total touchdown? Like how many?
One second. I'll get that for you in a second. So he threw 22 touchdowns through the air, as opposed to his rushing numbers. He rushed for 13 touchdowns. So he accounted for 13 plus 22, 35 touchdowns this season.
That's not bad.
That's not bad. Rushed for 760 yards, passed for 3,700. That's pretty damn. And he missed 3 games.
Right, he missed 3 games.
So
he's if he plays those 3 games, he's a 4,000 yard passer. He's
100%.
Probably adds anywhere from 5 to 8 more touchdowns to that over the course of 3 games. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And moving on, let's swing it on to the defensive rookie of the year. We're going to start first with offensive rookie of the year. And my offensive rookie of the year, I have 2 guys I think should co-split this award. And for me, it's the same argument when we talked about this at the midterm, right? It's Evan Neal and Charles Cross, those offensive tackles for the New York Giants and Seattle Seahawks, respectively. Those 2 guys transformed those 2 teams. Saquon Barkley was able to have the season he was able to have because of the blocking up front. And a lot of that has to do with Evan Neal and his ability to step into that lineup immediately and make a difference. Charles Cross, people want to talk about Kenneth Walker. Big reason that Kenneth Walker was able to be so productive is because Charles Cross was good immediately. And the reason that offense was so good in Seattle is because Charles Cross was good immediately. And the other rookie on the other side was really good too. But in my opinion, in a season where nobody has a dominant offensive season, where there isn't that wide receiver, there isn't that running back, when you look at offensive rookie of the year, it's these 2 tackles should get this award.
Well, we already know that's not going to happen.
I'm calling for it. Make it happen, voters. This is the year. Nobody's had an incredible offensive season as a rookie at any skill position. It should be an offensive tackle. They have been the best rookies on offense this year. Period.
But it's not going to happen. Like they don't even.
That is why I have a dark horse. But I'll take this until I blue in the face. Those 2 tackles should be offensive rookie of the years. They just should be. They've been the best offensive players this year at the rookie position.
So it would have been It would have been Breece Hall hands down if he didn't tear his ACL.
True.
Kenneth Walker is probably gonna win it, but I think
He's my quote unquote legit winner. I just wanted to get on
who
my soapbox there for a second and make
who
that same rant that I made a couple
what
weeks
did
ago.
I forgot who I saw read on Twitter. I think it was it Richard Sherman? I think it was Richard Sherman. They somebody tweeted him and asked him who did he think should win offensive rookie of the year. He said Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson put up over 1,000 yards with three different quarterbacks, and none of them were
Yeah,
good.
I could see that too. I mean, given the narrative around him, I think that is something that could for sure happen.
He immediately goes in, and like I think he defined himself. I mean, like no disrespect to Corey Davis, but I think Garrett Wilson is this team's wide receiver one, and I think you have to acknowledge that as if you're the Jets, right? Like obviously, like you have a win now team. You just the quarterback is the only thing that's
Holding you back, quote
holding
unquote.
you up, quote unquote. Um, yeah. So like the old lineman thing, like Charles Cross, Evan Neal, like that's fun. That's different. That's like you said, like that's a soapbox argument, but it's
I'm
not
aware
gonna
it's not.
happen.
I know I'm aware it's not going to happen.
Would
But
I love for it to happen? Yes. Give me the chaos. Be because for the longest, it's like who's really separating themselves out on the offensive side of the ball for in this rookie class. And again, like Brees Hall came on kind of strong, and then he gets hurt. And then Kenneth Walker was playing behind Rashad Penny and oh my God, who else? Because he wasn't.
but just Rashad Penny, because DJ Dallas was kind of just a change of pace guy. Travis Homer, same thing, and obviously Chris Carson retired before the season started. But yeah, Kenneth Walker is going to win this award, I think. But I
would
would
give it to
love it.
Garrett Wilson.
I would love it if one of those tackles won. They for sure deserve it. And shout out to Evan Neal and Charles Cross. If they ever watch this show, you guys have been incredible this season. Like you guys have stabilized what was a big problem for their offenses the last couple of years, especially in Seattle where that tackle situation was a mess. And way to stabilize that stuff in your first season as a rookie. Moving on from there, let's talk about.
But real quick, like we're not since you want to throw offensive linemen in there. You want to know who quietly had a solid rookie year, even though it didn't look like it. Braxton Jones, the left tackle for the Bears, like for him to be a 5th round pick and for him to hold down that left tackle spot for like most of the season, and for the Bears to have one of the, like what was the Bears in rushing, top 5, top 3,
something like that? Yeah, I mean,
yeah, like come on, man. Like I know Justin Fields played a huge part in that, but yeah, he had a solid rookie season. But all right, go ahead. I just wanted to say that.
Moving on from offensive rookie of the year, let's talk about DROY, defensive rookie of the year. TJ, I'll let you have the floor first when it comes to defensive rookie of the year.
I got to go with Aiden Hutchinson. 10 and a half sacks as a rookie.
9.5 sacks, 3 picks, 334 solo tackles. He also forced 2 fumbles. Oh, fumble recovery.
Yeah,
Sorry, he recovered 2 fumbles in this game.
Yeah, I gotta go with Aiden Hutchinson. Like, dude, and Detroit got 2 rookies on air. They got him, and they got is it Justin Houston, James Houston, something like that.
Yeah, that guy, he was getting burnt a little bit on, but yeah, he has been good. I think he had 8 sacks in like 8 games, something like that. Something
right,
absurd.
Yeah, So, but I gotta go with Aiden Hutchinson. Like, dude is gonna be a force for the next decade. And
He reminds me a lot of like the JJ Watt, like his build and his style of play reminds me a lot of JJ Watt.
like, you just hope that Detroit doesn't Detroit this thing up and mess it up.
Well, yeah, we'll see what ends up happening. They got 2 first-round picks next season, so as long as they don't go quarterback early, I think they'll be okay. Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson's kind of my dark horse. I kind of knew because we talked about this. What was it, Tuesday that we talked about this? Had this conversation. Mine's Tariq Woolen. 6 interceptions as a rookie, 46 solo tackles. Made what was a weakness in Seattle in their secondary into sort of a strength, at least on one side of the ball. The dude had a great rookie season, 63 solo tackles total. 6 picks, 1 touchdown. Yeah, Tariq Woolen he was a gem when they took him in the
Yeah,
fifth round.
see, and we clown Seattle because they only had like 5 picks throughout the entire draft. They hit on all 5 picks.
Yep.
That's how you
I mean,
GM.
that other tackle that they have on their roster right now, the guy who's playing right tackle for them, he's a rookie too. He's been awesome this season too.
That's how you GM. That's how you like. All right, I have limited resources. How do I knock this out of the park? And that's how you do it. Like,
I mean, Seattle had like we usually clown their drafts a lot, but they probably one of the better. Abraham Lucas is the other guy who plays right tackle.
Yeah,
he's a rookie too, and he's been awesome this season too.
So but
I know the argument for Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
For my money, I think Tariq Woolen has had a better rookie season.
And they're just gonna give it to Sauce Gardner because it's what you call it. It's the popular thing. Like he's like how do you not give it to Sauce Gardner? Da, 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 da. I'm like and like they threw up his numbers. Like Sauce Gardner only gave up like 54 yards passing or some absurd number. And it's like how many of that was just like he committed a lot of penalties that weren't called. Like
True.
Sauce Gardner committed a lot of PI penalties that weren't called, and they labeled it good defense. We like, no, that's we saw it in the game against the Bears, right? Chase Claypool gets a 30-yard pass interference penalty on them on like the second or third play of the game, and we're like, and everybody's like, how many of those have y'all not called?
Yeah, I mean he's been really good. I mean he's only allowed like 26 passing yards per game against him. He's been really good this season. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up winning the award. Moving on from there, let's talk about comeback player of the year. And my comeback player of the year is actually somebody I think TJ you're going to appreciate. This is my dark horse. This is not who I actually think is going to win it. Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
Khalil Mack, who basically ended the season on IR last season, basically got shut down due to injury, comes back after getting traded to the Chargers without Joey Bosa, puts up 8 sacks. He forced 2 fumbles. He had 33 solo tackles in this game this season. Khalil Mack actually is my second dark horse. I got one other one, dark horse, but this is one I thought you would really like, that dark horse Khalil Mack as defense.
Yeah, I appreciate
player of the year.
I can't find any. Who are even the candidates for dark horse? I mean, comeback player of the year.
So I got 2 others. The guy I think is actually going to win the award is Saquon Barkley. To have the season to go from being injury prone and not playing a lot the season before to having 1,300 yards next season. Because comeback player is kind of like a wishy-washy award, I'm not really sure what the criteria is. Like, do you have to be injured all of the whole season in order to be eligible?
I don't know either. Like, but Saquon, I don't hate the Saquon Barkley pick. Like you said, like that's probably who's gonna.
I mean, he went from 2021. I know he played 13 games in 2021, but he only had 593 rushing yards. To go from 593 to 1,300 is quite the jump.
That's a huge jump.
My other dark horse is not somebody who got injured. It was just somebody who had just not a good rookie season. I can't get these ads to stop playing. I've never had this problem before. Like ads are just constantly playing. Like when I go to ESPN, like there's just ads that won't stop playing. My other dark horse is actually Trevor Lawrence. To go from having a 12 to 17 touchdown to interception ratio to having the next season to have the best touchdown to interception ratio I think in the NFL this season at 25-8, 4,100.
I think that's from like week 7.
Maybe. But Trevor Lawrence is
I'm saying like it's like because like weeks 1 through 7 he was like he was like bottom half of the league, and then from week 7 on he's been that's when that number increased.
Okay, but he would be my other guy. I think he's had a season, but I don't know what they intrude as being comeback player of the year, because if that's if comeback player is just somebody who either had a subpar season that came back and was amazing, Geno Smith's got to lock this up. Like he's got to win this award.
That's who. Yeah, like again, Geno Smith is thrown into a situation. I touched on it quite a few times, right? Russ gets traded to Seattle. Get traded to Denver. Drew Lock gets sent to Seattle. and they're asking questions like the media is like, all right, so is Drew Lock gonna like what's the plan for Drew Lock? And Pete Carroll's like, well, we still got Geno. Geno's still here. Like I'm just, like it's not locked. It's not locking. It's not locked in that Drew Lock's gonna be the starter. Like Geno Smith is still here. He's been here. He knows the system. So right now we're going for it with as if Geno Smith is our QB1. And if Drew Lock beats him out, Drew Lock beats him out. But that didn't happen. So, yeah, I 100% agree. Like, what was it, a whole decade basically in between Geno Smith? Like, not a decade, I'm exaggerating, but it was a long time between Geno Smith being a starting quarterback for the Jets and being the starting quarterback for
Yeah, I think it was a
the
decade
Seahawks. Was
between
it a decade?
him starting opening night,
Yeah.
opening weekend for an NFL team. I think it was a decade, something like that. Yeah.
So,
But yeah, I
yeah,
think I don't really. The criteria is a little wishy-washy on comeback player of the year. I think Saquon Barkley has even had a better season, but I think I wouldn't be shocked if Geno Smith won this award. I do not think Khalil Mack and Trevor Lawrence have a shot at it, but I just wanted to throw them out there because give a little shout out to Khalil Mack because he's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame someday.
Yeah, absolutely. And I still remember when other Bear fans and Packer fans and whatnot called him washed. Like they called Khalil Mack washed, and I wonder how that's looking right now. Like
100%. So moving on from awards, let's talk about the most cherished award in the National Football League, the Vince Lombardi Trophy. And hopefully you watched our show 2 days ago where we broke down all of the matchups in Super Wildcard Weekend, because I've already filled out all of TJ's picks on Super Wildcard Weekend. He picked the Chargers to beat the Jaguars, as did I. He also picked the Bengals to beat the Ravens. He beat the Bills to beat the Dolphins. On the NFC side, he has San Francisco beating the Seahawks. He has the Minnesota Vikings beating the New York Football Giants, and he has the Dallas Cowboys beating Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. On my bracket, it's all about the same, except for I am not betting against Tom Brady because I've done that often, and I usually get burnt. And I have Tampa Bay beating the Dallas Cowboys, as I have not loved what I've seen out of Dallas for like the last month. And Tampa Bay seems to be getting. They had a bad game against the Falcons there, but they had nothing to play for. But that Mike Evans to Tom Brady connection was working in that last game against Carolina. Gonna roll with it. So let's talk about how the rest of the bracket's going to shake out, TJ. Let's talk about your first matchup, and let's talk about my first matchup. The Los Angeles Chargers going into Arrowhead for the third time. Can they beat the Kansas City Chiefs as they look to avoid getting the high trick of victories against? So how do you think this one's going to shake out, TJ?
Well, if you remember the first game they had in Kansas City, the Chargers felt like they got they got robbed, right? Like you had a pick that wasn't a pick get called back, and that would have gave you the field, and they would have gave you the ball. And
they had the lead at that point. I remember, if you remember correctly, Kansas City drove and scored a touchdown at a drive, tied the game up, and I think Justin Herbert threw a pick six right after that.
Because so Pat Mahomes throws a pick, gets called back for whatever reason, I can't remember, but
it looked like it hit the ground. It looked like it hit the ground,
right? But it didn't.
It was close.
But it was a pick, and then what happens the next play? 50-yard bomb for a touchdown, right?
Yep,
Tie game.
Yep.
Then you're driving, right? You've been riding Gerald Everett the whole drive. He was phenomenal. He was killing.
That's the Dolphin game.
No, that was that game.
No.
Remember he was too tired. Like they tried to throw it to him, and he threw it. But
hold on. You may be right. You may be right.
I know I'm right. It was
okay.
That he was too tired. He called for a sub, but it was too late to get the sub in. And Herbert, they run the play, and Herbert throws the ball behind him. It gets picked off, and they take it all the way. It was like a 90-yard pick six, which pretty much put the game out of reach for them.
You're 100% right, because when the Chargers played the Dolphins, they beat them. So exactly. The Kansas City so they lost 30-27, and then they played in week 2, and they lost 27-24. All of these Chiefs Charger games have been extremely close this season.
And I don't know. Like I obviously like if you're the Chargers, this is why you get a guy like Justin Herbert, right? Like
Yeah.
this is why, right? Like you want
It's
you
also why you
need
get a guy like Khalil Mack, right? Like this is why too.
oh, absolutely. But like if you're the Chargers, this is why you get a Herbert. Like you need that guy who is gonna be lockstep and be like, hey, whatever you can do, I can do it too. And you need that for the next 10 years. You need that. Like this is gonna be a battle. Like these two dudes, I feel like are gonna be battling for this division for the next 2 years because what's gonna happen with the Chiefs is eventually Pat Mahomes ain't gonna always have Travis Kelce to be that safety net.
I mean, he was going to have him for a while.
He gonna have him for he gonna have him for a while, but eventually it's he's not gonna have that. And I know the counter argument to that is well, Herbert's not always gonna have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and
I mean, he
those
might have
guys
Mike
to throw
Williams.
to.
Those guys, Mike Williams is pretty young, but yeah, Keenan Allen's getting up there in age. Um,
But obviously, like the better team in this situation, well, not better team. I'm not gonna say the better team. The more experienced team, there you go, in this situation is the Chiefs. Andy Reid is a better head coach than Brandon Staley. Again, Brandon Staley.
I'm not sure that's close.
We're again. Brandon Staley is basically coaching for his job. It's rumored out there that if he loses to the Jags, he's out of there. If he loses to the Jags, he's out of there, and that just literally opens the door for Sean Payton. Which, if I'm Sean Payton,
That's
if
the
I
job I want.
if I had to choose between Dallas and the Chargers, I'm going to the Chargers. I'm not going to deal with Jerry Jones and his madness
Me either.
constantly.
But when it comes to this particular game,
I
I'm
gotta
rolling
go
with
with the
I'm
Chiefs.
going
I gotta
Kansas
go with
City
the
too.
Chiefs. I gotta go with the Chiefs. Like it's, I mean, like it's gonna be fun because like this is the Chargers' opportunity to be like, hey, we may not be there yet, but we coming. Like Justin Herbert saying, I'm not coming. I'm already here.
It's
It's the
true.
rest of the guys that got to catch up to me. But it's my job to get them up there with me. Like this is a different ball game if the Chargers are if they just spend one season fully healthy. Derwin James don't get hurt. Bosa don't get hurt. Mike Williams
Yeah,
don't
well,
get hurt.
Joey
Keenan
Bosa
Allen
got
don't get
hurt.
hurt.
Joey Bosa got hurt during that game against Denver, which was a meaningless game for them. Also, Mike Williams got hurt a little bit in that game too.
Yeah.
So it's like really unfortunate that we're not going to see either of this team at full strength against this Kansas City Chiefs team. I just think Patrick Mahomes is going to be too much.
I think that's been that's been the issue for the Chargers for like most of their existence, right? Like you go to an AFC championship game, right? Good. Philip Rivers has a torn ACL. It's like, God damn, bro. Like
Yeah.
you just can't catch a break.
And the other side of the AFC is extremely interesting as we have the 2-seeded Buffalo Bills welcoming in this 3-seed Cincinnati Bengals, and the game that we were supposed to get on Monday Night Football, for obvious reasons we did not get, but now it's in Buffalo, in Orchard Park, in a playoff game to see who gets to place the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. Emotions aside, taken out of it, Buffalo is just, in my opinion, Buffalo is a better team. But Joe Burrow might be the most.
Von Miller.
Joe Burrow might be the most clutch quarterback in the NFL right now.
I'm not going that far.
Right.
It is so funny that you brought that up. That was a talking point on Undisputed. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did not know that. I don't watch that show because I hate those shows.
You hate Skip Bayless, I know.
Well, no, I hate both of them actually.
How you hate Shannon Sharp? What is
because they're just feeding into the terrible NBA media or terrible sports media. I can't even like all Shannon of those guys. Sharp. Like their pockets are lined, but good for them. But they're feeding into I just don't enjoy it.
You can't hate Unc, bro. Unc played the game. Unc a Hall of Fame. You can't hate Unc. I'm sorry. I just don't like the way that they cover sports. It just doesn't feel real. It's not something I enjoy watching. No, how Skip is stuck
They
in
both do
the
it, man.
80s and 90s. No, not Shannon.
I
So
also
like
I also don't watch that show enough to really, because
pay
I
attention.
just I hate the way they present it. It's just not. I don't think it's
So
good NFL media. If you want to watch good NFL media, check out Prime Sports
no,
World
no,
more often.
no. So they asked the question like, so I think somebody, and I hate when players do this. Like they say stuff anonymously. Like so, like somebody was like Joe Burrow's the most clutch quarterback in the NFL, and it's like no, dude. Like if you're a player and you believe that, put a face and a name to the quote. Don't say it anonymously and hide behind that. Like, and Shannon Sharp was like, okay, that's great, but why we think Joe Burrow is the most clutch quarterback when Pat Mahomes is 13-10 in clutch situations? He's the only quarterback in the NFL
I
that's over 500 in clutch situations.
I agree with you. I just think that Joe Burrow has a cachet around him.
And Pat Mahomes don't. Like you
Not,
really,
I
like
just
you
you're
really
not
feel
wrong. I
like
just something about Joe Burrow. I just something about him. In this
so like
particular matchup, but with this matchup, I'm going to roll with the Buffalo Bills. I think this team is going to be motivated. They're going to rally around Damar Hamlin. I think he'll probably be at their playoff game. He's been
bro,
released from the hospital. He's back home now.
if
So
he's at that game on that sideline, which I think on the sideline might be a bit of a stretch, but if he's in like a
well,
suite,
he's on IR. I don't know if he's even allowed to be on the sidelines. So
no, you can be on the sideline if you
if you're on
if you
IR,
yeah,
oh, okay.
you're just not dressed, you're not playing, like you can be on the sideline, but
With
again,
all that being said, yeah, I'm gonna roll with Buffalo in that particular matchup. Although it's probably the best matchup of.
like of the wild card weekend, not the wild card,
I mean, if we shake out like these divisional rounds, I think this is probably the best matchup in my opinion. But I'll take Buffalo, win that game, go face Kansas City
so
at a
like
neutral site.
what I will, and it's Atlanta, the neutral site's Atlanta.
Oh, cool!
Um,
That's
yeah,
a great venue.
so like it's funny because so like they announced that, and then there's one guy I'm friends with on Facebook. He's like, the fix is in. I'm like, explain. He's like, the Bengals. I'm like, what about them? Like, what about the Bengals? Like, even without the game they were supposed to play, the Buffalo Bills have the better record. They're 13-3. Cincinnati's 12-4.
Well,
There's no fix.
if Cincinnati had beaten Buffalo, they would have the tiebreaker with them.
And if Buffalo would have won, they're the number one seed. Like that's the thing that we.
Correct.
So there is no like for him
Like this
to be
matchup
like,
doesn't happen. This matchup never happens if Buffalo wins that game.
exactly. Like there's no fix. There's no conspiracy. There's none of that. Like you're digging for stuff that's not there. So what? I'm not gonna dive into the whole Joe Burrow's the most clutch quarterback in the NFL thing right now.
We could do that later. I may have been speaking of hyperbole. I may have gotten caught up in the moment.
No, but I will say this. I will say the Bengals outside of the 49ers are probably the hottest team in the NFL right now.
It's true. I can't remember the last time they lost a game.
The Bengals? Yeah, that is a good question.
It's been a hot minute.
It's been a great
But who do you have winning against Buffalo and Cincinnati?
It's hard to pick it's hard to say emotions aside because this game is going to be so emotional. This is this wasn't a one-sided event that only hit the Buffalo Bills. Like this hurt the Cincinnati Bengals too. Right? Like it wasn't like Sean McDermott was like, I'm pulling my guys off. We can't play right now. And Zach Taylor's like, no, we got to play. Like, no, Zach Taylor's like, no, I'm pulling my guys too. We got to stick together on this. Like this hurt. Like, so like it's emotional for both. Like because of the venue, because of them at home, I got to go with Buffalo. I would not be surprised at all if Cincinnati won this game.
I wouldn't be either at all. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a really entertaining football game.
But I'm going Buffalo just to set up the neutral site madness.
I do enjoy madness. Let's swing into the NFC. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys going into Philadelphia, at least in your matchup. In mine, it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right. So this is what I'm talking about with Philly and Dallas. So like they played each other regular season, right? Philly gets Cooper Rush at their crib. Dallas got Gardner Minshew at their crib. It was it was real competitive. Both games for the I think that the second game came down to a fourth down play, which Philly didn't get. Cooper
Yeah, Gardner Minshew
Rush,
threw a pick.
yeah, Cooper Rush, he hung in there for as long as he could, and I don't even think that game was quote unquote a blowout. Philly might have won by what, a touchdown, 8 points,
Yeah,
something like
that
that.
game was close too with Cooper
It was
Rush.
close, right? It was close.
All the games have been close between these two teams. I'll
This
pull up
is
the actual results here in a second.
so. This is what we talking about, right? Like this is what we talking about. Philly finally gets to throw play against Dak Prescott. Dallas gets to go against Jalen Hurts.
So
Nobody,
the second matchup, the Eagles lost that game 40-34. Their
right?
matchup earlier in the season, the Eagles won 26-17. So both within striking distance for either team. 9 and what is this? 6? Yes,
Six.
6.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So this is Dak versus Jalen Hurts. This is what everybody's been talking about. Like this is the gripe that the fan bases of both teams have had because it's the same argument. Oh, like Eagle fans clown Dallas the first time, and Cowboys fans were like, "Well, you beat us. You beat our backup. Calm down." Dallas, Dallas beats Philly the second time. Cowboy fans, rightly so, dishing it right back to Eagles fans, and Eagles fans are like, "You beat our backup. Calm down." Now, in my scenario, there is no backups. Nobody's hurt. It's mano y mano. My right, like my heavy hand versus my right hook versus your right hook. Whoever falls first loses. That's what that is, right? I'm still going Philly. I'm going Philly just because like they have the better team. And Dak Prescott, let's be honest, has been playing terrible football since he came back.
That's true.
Dak Prescott has thrown 15 interceptions this season. He missed 5 games. He missed
Well,
5 games.
in my matchup, it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Philadelphia Eagles, but I think the results are going to be the same. I look at Tampa Bay. I just don't believe in them, and the reason that I picked Tampa Bay to beat the Dallas Cowboys is because of the play of Dak Prescott as of late. I
I
just
get that.
don't.
That's fair. That's fair. But I just
I just
don't.
haven't been buying in, and I'm not betting against Tom Brady. But when it comes to Philadelphia Eagles, they're probably the second most complete team in the NFL right now on offense and defense, because they can really get it done on both sides of the football. Give me Philadelphia, be Tampa
What
Bay.
I like, what I like in your scenario with the Eagles and the Buccaneers is so like you know how folks like sports media. One of my biggest gripes with sports media is like a team beats another team in the playoffs, and then those two teams face each other in the regular season. The team that lost in the playoffs beats the team that beat them, and it's like, oh, they exacted revenge. It's like, no, they did it. That's a regular season game. This scenario, in your scenario, this is the revenge scenario, right?
Yeah, I mean, because the Eagles got bounced in the playoffs last season by Tampa Bay.
By Tampa Bay. This is where those idiots, and I'm gonna call them what they are. This is what those idiots should apply the revenge scenario, because you just said it. Philly got bounced by the Buccaneers last season. So
And then when it comes to the other side of the bracket, we have the Minnesota Vikings and the San Francisco 49ers. There is nothing in me right now that thinks the San Francisco 49ers can be beat in especially if this game is, which it will be on Levi Stadium. I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers. They're built to beat anyone in the NFL. Their offense travels no matter what the weather like is in California there. Give me San Francisco to win this game and win this game fairly easily, because the offensive line in Minnesota has been kind of a mess, to put it nicely, so far this season. And I think this is the worst matchup you can draw when you're talking about an offensive line that's kind of a mess right now. Give me San Francisco to win that game pretty easily.
Yeah, I know we crack on Packer fans and Aaron Rodgers a lot because the San Francisco 49ers just they're literally his clutch games are Aaron Rodgers' kryptonite, let's be honest. But all jokes aside, San Francisco has made Kirk Cousins' life a living hell just as much as Aaron Rodgers. Like, remember that one game, that one playoff game they faced each other? Kirk Cousins picked on the Kilo Weatherspoon for pretty much that one
play. It was like a 1 4th down play when he had Stephon Diggs, and then they
like it was pretty much the whole drive. Stephon Diggs was
but he converted that 4th down for a touchdown, and then they benched the Kilo Weatherspoon, and I don't think the Vikings scored again in that game.
Right? Like it was just like, okay, enough of that. That was fun. You know, you had like clank clank coming to get you locked up. Yeah, this San Francisco defense is high flying. Everybody like the only gripe is you're throwing Brock Purdy into a playoff situation where he's never been in that, right? Like he's not used to that. I get they want to. Oh, he's played in big games before at Iowa State. No, we're not
Please.
doing that. We're not doing that.
That's adorable.
Iowa Iowa State versus Texas is not a big game. Iowa State versus Oklahoma is not like no. It doesn't compare to what this is, right? Or what it's going to be. His saving grace is that he's at home. Right, he's going to have the hometown faithful backing him up.
Yep.
If San Francisco somehow lets Justin Jefferson just erupt, then it's going to be a long day at the office, right? Because like if you allow them to stick around and hang around, then that's a situation where like anything can happen, right? One bad play, one ball go like the ball bounces your way and whatnot and everything. Like that's literally what it takes. But if if San Fran come out, punch their ass right in the mouth, like we know they can, game over. Like like the first, what would you say? Like the first 3-4 drives of the game, right? That's about what 8 minutes of a 15-minute quarter.
Depending on. I also think San Francisco is going to dominate time of possession with their running game with Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell, who's back now. Debo Samuel, who's back now. Also, like they have full complement of weapons right now. Like San Francisco is going to be. We'll talk about them here in a minute, but yeah, they're going to beat down Minnesota. This is just my opinion.
Yeah. That wouldn't surprise me either.
So yeah, TJ's rolling with the San Francisco 49ers. Let's swing back over into the AFC Championship game as we have 1 versus 2 on both conferences. Let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. This game, as we mentioned, will be played in Atlanta because Buffalo would have had the number 1 seed if they'd beaten Cincinnati on that game. So now it's a neutral site. Kansas City versus Buffalo, probably the same distance for all their fan bases. Not that it really matters where the game was, but it's going to be in Atlanta. How do you think this game's going to shake out?
I'm just curious as to how that bidding process went. Like, what went behind the decision to be like, all right, Atlanta, like that's gonna be like.
Well, I imagine they tried to pick somewhere that was a dome, so it wouldn't be infected by weather, and they probably tried to pick somewhere that was like smack bang in the middle of like both teams. Although Indianapolis makes a lot more sense if that's the case, but.
Right, like, and
I'm not going to pretend to know. I know Mercedes-Benz Superdome or whatever they're calling it is this fairly new stadium, so maybe they just want to showcase it in a big stage.
No, but what I was gonna say is like, ain't like the Colts are using theirs, like so.
That's true, but yeah, Lucas Oil Stadium, the house that Peyton Manning built. With that being said, though, I think Buffalo is because they've already beaten Kansas City once, so this will be a rematch of a matchup earlier this season. Also, will be a rematch of one of the more entertaining playoff games of all time. That game in Kansas City last season. I'm actually going to take Buffalo to win this game. The neutral site I think is important because you're not going to have either fan bases with the table smashing and the whatever goes on at Arrowhead. I'm not even really sure. I'm going to roll with Kansas City with the Buffalo Bills. I also think that this team is going to be riding some emotions there. I think they're sort of quote unquote a team of destiny. I'll take Buffalo to win this game.
Well, here's the thing. Right. One of the key reasons why Buffalo beat Kansas City earlier this season was number 40.
True.
40 ain't there. So if I'm Pat Mahomes, I don't have to worry about Von Miller crashing down and making me rush my throws, which happened on that game-sealing pick that he threw. Right. If I'm Buffalo. It's pretty much like this is that word again. It's like this is your quote unquote kryptonite, right? Like if you want to get to the promised land, if you want to get over that hump, if you want to take that spot as the king of the mountain, this is who you're gonna have to go through, right? And it's not easy. Like you have a you have a tough Cincinnati opponent, and then you have a tough Kansas City opponent. This is who you're gonna have to go through. And if the Chargers somehow beat Kansas City, again, it's not easy. It doesn't get easy on the AFC side.
No,
So I don't know. Like I'm taking the Chargers just because.
the Chiefs, you
Not the
mean?
Chargers. Yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs because this is where you're really gonna miss Von Miller. This is where you're gonna miss Von Miller. Like this is why you brought Von Miller in. Like this is solely why you brought him in, and he's
It's
not
true.
there.
It's unfortunate. Swinging over into the NFC side of this, we also have the matchup between number 1 and number 2. The Philadelphia Eagles will be hosting the San Francisco 49ers as Brock Purdy will have to play his first playoff game on the road. But I do not think it will matter. I think the San Francisco 49ers defense is so good. I think they're going to get after Jalen Hurts. I think they're going to force him into some tough situations. I also don't think that the Philadelphia Eagles will be able to run the football against the San Francisco 49ers. And that's been the key to the resurgence of the Philadelphia Eagles so far this season. They have run the ball better than any team in the NFL outside of the Chicago Bears, potentially. And San Francisco will stop the run and force Jalen Hurts to beat them with his arm. He has not proved he can do that so far this season. I will take San Francisco. I do think this will be a low-scoring defensive battle, as the Eagles are not slouches when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, even though they have been They have been gotten here over the last couple of weeks as the injuries have kind of mounted up on their defensive side of the ball. But give me San Francisco to go into the city of brotherly love and spoil that party for the Philadelphia Eagles as they go back to the Super Bowl and face Buffalo.
So you got Buffalo and Philly.
San Fran.
So you got San Fran and Philly. I mean, wait, San Fran and who?
Buffalo.
Buffalo? Oh, that'd be nice. I'm tempted to call the rematch. I'm tempted to go San Fran KC because that's like, because if I'm the 49ers, like, oh no, like that's who I want. But I don't want that situation. I don't want that matchup with Brock Purdy as my quarterback. I just don't want that. I'm not asking Brock Purdy to go toe to toe with Pat Mahomes. Like you can't match that. Like that's just unfair. Philly, on the other hand, I would love to see Philly go to war with Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs. So your point about running the ball, Philly can do that. Like,
yeah, but San Francisco has the best rush defense in the NFL.
They do that. They do, but how many? Like you have to account for literally everything. Like you got to account for Jalen Hurts running the ball. You got to.
It's true.
Like
so they haven't played a dynamic offense like the one they're going to play this week. That's true.
And we kind of saw it, like albeit it's week 1, but we kind of saw what happened when they had to face a quarterback who could run. All right, like Justin Fields, like for what it's worth, Justin Fields did have kind of a good day, albeit in the monsoon.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, Chris McCaffrey wasn't on this team at this point. Their offense is totally different now that they have him. Even with Brock Purdy at the helm at the quarterback position, he's been pretty good for them.
But again, like it's that situation, it's that scenario of how do you handle the big lights? Because as the games progress, the lights are going to get brighter, the moments are going to be bigger. The game basically slows down that much more, and it's like, do you trust him to be the Brock Purdy that he's been and not be the last pick of the draft that he was?
I'm going to roll those dice. But it sounds like you're taking Philadelphia, though.
I'm taking Philly.
So Super Bowl matchup is set, and for both of ours, let's first start with yours. Let's start with mine first. We're talking about Buffalo Bills. Let's show your matchup here. Is Kansas City Chiefs battle the number 1 seeds. Kansas City Chiefs going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. On my side, I got the Buffalo Bills battle the number 2 seeds I got Buffalo going wherever the Super Bowl is played this year. I can't even remember. Arizona? Arizona. It's in Arizona.
I think it's Arizona.
At the Big Toaster. Going up against the San Francisco 49ers. And I think this is potentially where the Brock Purdy situation catches up with the San Francisco 49ers, even though I could do it earlier. But the Super Bowl is the biggest of the biggest stages. I think Josh Allen could potentially have his best game of his entire career in this matchup. I will take the Buffalo Bills to host the Vince Lombardi Trophy, and they will be my Super Bowl champion. And they will finish a historic season, really, because of all the all the narratives are going to be around them. Josh Allen will be the Super Bowl MVP. Von Miller probably retires after the season too. So yeah, Buffalo Bills are going to be my 2023. I know it's not a sexy pick. I know it's kind of kind of a run of the mill, but this is who I think is going to win the Super Bowl. Buffalo.
We all got chalk. I mean, we both got chalk predictions, chalk everything. Like it's. Like my playoff, like my Super Bowl prediction is literally both number 1 seeds. Both.
I got Buffalo winning the Super Bowl at me. And on your side, you got the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, the battle of the number 1 seeds. How do you see this game shaking out, TJ, to fill out your bracket?
If there was ever a quarterback that can make mincemeat out of this defense, it's Pat Mahomes. Like I think they learned their lesson from. The last time we saw them in the Super Bowl, their offensive line was hurt. Trash.
Bad. Their both their offensive tackles were injured before the game.
Gone. Like he went in with backups to the backups, and so. Everybody's like, oh, he was terrible in their Super Bowl. Like, you see that offense? And, it was funny, though, because that kind of opened up everybody's eyes to, because you already know how folks are, the Bears passed up on him. And, everybody sees how he was running for his life in that Super Bowl against the Buccaneers. And it's like, yeah, that's what his life would have been here.
It's true.
Running for his life. Trying to make something out of nothing. Will Pat Mahomes get ring number 2 against the Philadelphia Eagles? I'm asking you.
Yes. If that was the matchup, I would take Kansas City to win that game. I would actually feel pretty confident about that.
Ooh. Okay. You don't think Jalen Hurts can
pull out a virtuoso?
Yeah, you don't think that run game could give Kansas City some problems?
I think it could. I just think the offense of Kansas City is going to be so dynamic because Philadelphia, their defense has been not great down the stretch here. I mean, they've allowed a lot of points to some subpar offenses. The Giants put up a bunch of points against them in last week. The defense
that game came down to an onside kick. That game was not.
So
yeah,
I would take Kansas City, but that would be a really entertaining Super Bowl. I think though, either way.
Yeah.
Is that who you're rolling with, Kansas City?
No, I can't do that. I just lost a bet to them earlier this season, so I'm kind of hating right now. I want to go with Philly because I'm picking Philly because I want the powers that be here in Chicago to look at Philly and use that as a blueprint and be like, this is a quarterback in his 3rd year. Yeah, 3rd year, right?
Correct.
This is a quarterback in his 3rd year, and look at the moves that was made to not only benefit him, but benefit us as a team. And look where it got him. So I want Philly to win this, so a team like the Bears can use it as a blueprint. Because they have the young dynamic quarterback in the same situation that Jalen Hurts was in a year ago, albeit worse because the Eagles did go to the playoffs. They didn't stand a damn chance in that playoff game.
And not to mention, before last season, before the start of this season, there were a lot of questions about Jalen Hurts. Those questions don't exist anymore. And all of the same narratives kind of circles around Justin Fields right now, the same questions about if he's the guy or not. If they could give him some dynamic weapons and a dynamic offensive line, I think the narrative would quickly shift when it comes to Patrick Mahomes to Justin Fields. I don't actually hate this if Philadelphia were to win the Super Bowl. I actually think that's a pretty solid pick. But yeah, so TJ, he has the Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Vince Lombardi Trophy, kind of in a selfish reason, but I still like it. I have the Buffalo Bills. I have the Buffalo Bills hosting the Vince Lombardi Trophy. Let us know down in the comment section, who do you think is going to host the Vince Lombardi Trophy?
Also,
and that's
I think what's not like with your pick. I think the underlying issue that's going to be brought up constantly with that is the previous 4 trips that Buffalo had to the Super Bowl, and they came up empty 4 times. Like anytime you go to the Super Bowl 4 times in a row at that, and you don't win any of them, those ghosts, those skeletons,
it's true.
Are still in that closet, and
I think it'll be nice for that fan base to vanquish those demons. But yeah, this has been our 2023 final prediction show. Let us know what you thought about our predictions. We rattled off all of the major awards in the National Football League, and we picked the Vince Lombardi Trophy. I've been David Huffman. Right there is my co-host, Mr. TJ Hopkins. And TJ, what we do here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring the heat.
Yes, sir. We do bring the heat, my friend, and we will be back on next month. Actually, Izzy's going to be doing his college football showdown show on Friday, so keep an eye out for that content. Me and TJ won't be back until Monday. We're going to be breaking down what's gone down in Super Wildcard Weekend so far, so you don't want to miss that content. I've been David Huffman. There's Mr. TJ Hopkins. We will see you guys later, and you all have a good and safe weekend.
See you, man.